show called The Trail of Missions, which is it's kind of an off-road excursion trip where we visit all the missions down the peninsula. But we did spend a little bit of time in Santa Rosalia 2 years ago, kind of going through some of the history with Eiffel and all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's a cool story.
Oh, man, yeah.
That guy built a church that's there.
I know, and it's still, I mean, they still use it to this day.
Still use it, yeah.
I would love to see all of that, the infrastructure that's there when you come into the town on the right that's just rotting away and rusting. That would be such a cool restored, I mean, it could be anything. It could be a series of restaurants, or it would be awesome to be like a lodge or a hotel or something.
So that's funny you say that, because I went down there with the idea of maybe making that our Mexican sort of headquarters down there, and I looked at that old mine works. It's right, it's just beautiful ironwork,
right,
and things there. I would love to restore that into some kind of a visitor center / museum. That would be awesome.
The town is changing a lot because of the mining that is now restarted there, and I'm pretty sure, I think it's Carlos Slim owns that. I think he owns a lot of the mining operations that are happening in Baja right now. The one that's outside of San Felipe, that's a big gold mine, I think. And then I know that there's some more movement in the Todos Santos area, but I've heard rumblings that the town is suffering from a crime and just kind of the insurgence of more people in the town because of that mine, which is kind of a bummer, but it's just part of the process, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing going on with the, I can't say the word, vaquinos or whatever those dolphins are up there. It's amazing right now, too. It's a sad story.
The vaquinos?
The I'm saying it wrong. Vaquitas, those little dolphins.
Oh yeah, but what's going on with it? I know that's the vaquitas is what they call.
The the Chinese they're constantly worried about their wieners for some reason, and they think that this swim bladder of that Totuaba the Totuaba. Yeah. So they set these gill nets there to catch these things. They're worth like $30,000 a swim bladder, and they've been catching the dolphins as sort of a bycatch. There's like 8 dolphins left or something like that, and that Sea Shepherd group, they went up there and they got run out. A couple guys got murdered, and there was some boats set on fire. And this was just
outside of San Felipe. Yeah, there was mayhem up in San Felipe back in I think it was February or March.
Yeah, so it's a very topical thing. They're the drug guys are involved in the trade of these things because there's so much money in it now.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is when you say drug guys, you can interchange the word government there as well. So the government's right in the middle of it also, unfortunately. And the really sad thing is that they've it needs to happen in some degree, but while they're cutting off the legal access to a lot of the fish to the locals that live in that area, especially San Felipe is another area where they're really struggling because the laws that have been put in place. But then they let these huge ships go out, and whatever systems they're using to pull the Totuaba and whatever else out of the water, it's killing all kinds of stuff, like you said. And the locals are pissed because of that, because they can't go fishing, but yet the Chinese or the Japanese can come in and rape the ocean.
It's terrible, yeah. The fishermen are really suffering along that coast now. The water's warmed up, and the Humboldt squid aren't breeding, and they're just not catching anything anymore.
I had a woman named Sherry Bondi on a couple of weeks ago, and she lives in just south of Turtle Bay in Baja Sessions, and she's a Canadian born but naturalized Mexican at this point. And she's a whale guide, and she's got 30 years of guiding whale watching trips, but also studying and photo documenting the whales as they come into Scammons Lagoon there. And she was telling me that this past season, has been the slowest season for just volume in general, but then the babies as well. And she was talking to people I guess up in the Alaska side of things. Apparently there's some sort of an algae that or microorganism that releases from the ice and falls to the somehow this woman's perspective is that the ice caps melting is somehow affecting the food source for the whales, and therefore they're not breeding as much as they once were. They're not reproducing as much as they have in the past.
It's really precarious. Like I'm not an alarmist, but the ocean absorbs about 30% of the excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and when it does, it creates this weak carbolic acid basically, and so the ocean's pH goes down a little bit, and that's fine unless you're a little foraminifera or a diatom that's got to secrete your shell out of calcium carbonate, and it's too acidic. You can't. So that's the base of the food chain, and it just takes a tiny little change in the pH, and the whole thing starts to just. In every study that, and we get involved in some of the studies because we take the cores out of the ocean, and these cores are like clocks that have told you what's going on for thousands and thousands of years. And so, people say, oh, the climate's always changing. It's changing 1,000 times faster than it ever has in history right now. And the Earth's pretty elastic. It can deal with a lot of change, but it can't deal with this rate of change. And so things are starting to really get wonky, and it's frightening. So,
it's that ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
Every one of us affects something or
it
everything.
Does, yeah.
Well, John, I appreciate the time. It's been great to chat with you. And like I said, please keep my number. And if you ever have any needs or anything related to Baja, for sure, reach out to me. And I look forward to following the progress of this and someday visiting my sister up there and making a trek to come and see the boat in Monterey.
That'd be great. And keep in touch, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Will do.
All right. Thanks.
I appreciate it, John. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to check out thebahamap.com if you'd be interested in owning a leather-bound 60-inch canvas map of the Baja Peninsula. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Baja Sessions. We'll be back next week to chat with another Baja brother or sister. And until then, Viva Baja!
This episode of The Answer is Yes Baja Sessions is brought to you by Baja Bound Insurance Services. Driving to Mexico? You can buy and print out your Mexican auto insurance policy online in minutes with their easy-to-use website. They also have great travel information to help you plan your trip south of the border. Visit BajaBound.com.